Hey, friends out there, this is Thursday, April 7th, 2022, and it is just about a minute past 6 in the morning here in Northern California. And as usual, I'll talk about a few different things. You know, we live on an awesome planet, very beautiful place, filled with never ending flora, fauna, and all sorts of scientific stuff to ponder. It's good to be alive. Life's good. It's nice to have life as a human being. It's exciting and it's exhilarating. But this thing we call death is, to say the least, a real downer, you know? It really is. Ever since I was a little boy, and we're going maybe 7 years old, when I really started to ponder this thing we call death, I didn't like it. I didn't like this idea that, as much as I was enjoying my life, that inevitably it was going to end. It was kind of horrific from a very early age. So I've always thought, this is a bummer. I remember asking my mom, I said, Mom, how old do you live? And she said, Oh, honey, don't think about that. That's morbid, something to that effect. Because I used to ask later in life, so that might be a term she used later in life. But when I was about 7, she just said, oh, 100, as if it was infinity. And so I've always been a little bit obsessed in a kind of a negative way with this thing we call death. And also from a very early age, I've had an experience with trauma. And I brought it on myself. I was kind of what's the term? I was a rascal, as most little boys are, but maybe I was more so than others. I hope so, because I can remember playing with matches. Both my parents smoked, so, it was no surprise to have matches laying around the house. But I remember my sister and I had an idea of we're going to roast Milky Ways, and I started a fire. We were living in Santa Cruz, California, and we just found some secluded place. There was eucalyptus trees and just kind of an open area between houses. There was houses nearby, but we went down there. We started a little fire, and the wind came up and took the fire away, and it spread. My sister ran away in fear, and there was a field that had been plowed, rototilled recently, and I started picking up dirt clods and throwing them on the fire and stomping on it, and just adrenaline kicked in at that age, and I just kind of freaked out, and I was scared to death. I don't know exactly why I was so scared, but maybe go back to death and me thinking, oh my God, I could cause people to die from this fire I've started accidentally. I mean, I started the fire on purpose, but I did not intend the fire to get out of control, but it did. But my sister ran. I take it she ran home, which was probably about 10 blocks from where we were, and she got my dad. I remember the next thing I knew, I was hearing sirens, and the fire department showed up, and my dad was there, and I guess he drove independently, and I had already had the fire out, so there was no problem, but it freaks you out, and you never forget it your whole life. And there's been other times too that I've been traumatized in life and death situations. When I was 14, I remember propane. It vents. There's a little vent on a tank of propane. If it heats up, it expands. The propane inside the tank will expand. So it's got a little vent, safety release valve type thing, and automatically it'll be triggered, and so you'll smell some occasionally. But I remember on my dad's sailboat, it was a yacht, really, 6 bedroom, 2 bathrooms, teak wheelhouse, beautiful thing. um, we were in Sausalito in the Bay, in the San Francisco Bay there, a little town there on the seafront, And I told him, I said, Daddy, I smell propane because we had these two big, I guess they were 10-gallon propane tanks in a cubby, with a little cabinet type thing. And I said, Dad, I really smell this strong. And he said, that's the venting. And I went down below and I opened the door to the cabinet, and immediately there was an explosion, and right in my face. So that's another time when you're not sure if all of a sudden you're dead, or what's happening, but it's traumatic. But even before that, sailing with my dad in the Mediterranean, there was times when, and particularly in the English Channel, between England and France, the English Channel, and we were in a storm, and my dad, he had a crewmate, Timothy, and Timothy wore a black patch over one eye and big black beard, looked like your classic pirate. But they were drunk as hell. I was 9 years old, and we got in a nasty storm. And the chop, there's nothing like the chop, the ocean chop on the English Channel. I think other sailors would agree that it's bad. You get converging systems of currents and whatnot, but the chop just was lifting this little 25-foot sailboat up just like a little cork. And my dad and Timothy were screaming at each other. They were panic stricken, and I was down below dry heaving. I didn't have any more puke to puke up. But I was certain, almost certain, that that was it. I was going to die at 9 years old. So ever since then, I've been a little nuts. I think people that have PTSD, and everybody I think is subjected at some time. I mean, for me to have 3 incidents so early in life, I think other people have had some too. Now, I can remember going out surfing one time when I was 19, and I had what I considered a gun. A gun is a long surfboard specifically designed for surfing large waves. And I was sitting in this company car. I was driving this brand new Oldsmobile with a sunroof, and these 2 girls come over and they started talking to me. I was just trying to get ready to go out surfing in these big waves, and they were getting bigger, and it was getting late in the day. The sun was starting to get low in the sky, and I thought, I got to get out there soon. But they came over and they were talking me up, and anyhow, the whole thing left me kind of a little bit nervous, and I went out. I still ended up going out. I said, I got to go, girls, and I went out there. But when I got out there and I saw just how big these waves were, and every set, waves come in sets. You get 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 waves to a set sometimes, and it's all depending on a lot of factors, currents, the wind, just a lot of different things. But I got out there, and these things were monsters. On the face, they were at least 25 foot. The guys looked like stick figures. They were way out, the hell out in the bay, and I just started praying. I said, God, I thought I was going to drown out there. I really did. I just knew that my lung capacity was not as good as some guys. And, because you got it, man. When you get held under by a big wave, you get caught in the wrong spot, even just paddling out, a wave can break right in front of you. And you got to really be able to hold your breath for a long time. But I got out there far enough to catch some of the intermediate waves, and even the small ones were 8 feet from behind. That's how surfers judge a wave, from behind, and they're approximately half the height from behind as they are in front. So this was probably a good 15-foot wave in the face. But I had been praying. I said, God, just get me in, and I won't try this again. And I caught the wave, and I rode it, and I got in. And ever since then, I haven't tried to ride waves that were out of my league. And but I have been a little freaked out. Some of it, like I said, I brought on myself, kind of that devil may care attitude, where I've been ready to die since I was a little kid. And It, so maybe I'm a little more exhilarated, a little more excited than some people. But, it's just thinking that I could be dead today is like, that's